Part 1. Newport, Ohio, sat hidden in the folds of the Appalachian Hills, a town so small most maps forgot it. The people who lived there were proud, stubborn, and weary, their days tied to the river and the rusting mills that lined it. Outsiders rarely came, and those who did never stayed long. Newport was a place that preferred its shadows. The darkest of those shadows belonged to Jonas Harrow, the town mortician. Jonas had inherited Harrow and Son's funeral home from his father, though there was never more than one Harrow alive at a time. He was a tall, ghostly man, his skin pale as candle wax, his pale eyes always drifting just past you. He had no wife, no friends, no congregation. His only companions were the dead. The children began disappearing not long after Jonas took over the mortuary. The first was Eli McCurdy, then Sarah Whitcomb, then another, and another, always at night, always without struggle. Bedroom windows found open, though their locks remained unbroken. Doors left ajar, though no one had heard them creak. At first, people whispered of wild dogs or restless river spirits. But when the boxes appeared, there was no denying something human, something unspeakably cruel, was at work. Each box was the same, unfinished pine, crudely latched. Inside lay a child's severed tongue, preserved in salt, resting like some obscene relic. And beneath the lid, carved carefully into the wood, was a number. The first box bore a 1, the next a 2. With every missing child, a new box appeared. Jonas walked the streets by day like a pale phantom, his black suit reeking faintly of formaldehyde. By night, he prowled. Few dared speak their suspicions aloud, but every soul in Newport knew who the shadow belonged to. What they could not know was the truth hidden beneath the funeral home, where Jonas had carved out a cellar behind a false wall. The air down there was damp and reeked of mold, stone walls dripping with moisture. Iron cages lined the room like an animal kennel. This was where the children went after Jonas carried them away, silent and limp in his bony arms. Jonas loved silence. He hated their screams, hated the way they rattled his skull. So he silenced them in the only way he knew how, with a mortician's scalpel sharp enough to peel skin from bone. He would slice free the tongue of each captive. He worked slowly, humming tuneless hymns as the children writhed, their cries reduced to wet, gurgling gasps. The tongues he preserved with care. He dried them, salted them, folded them neatly into hand-carved boxes. Delivering those boxes gave him more pleasure than the killing itself. He would leave them on porches under the cover of night, then linger in the shadows, watching. He lived for the moment the door opened, the instant the parents' scream tore through the quiet hills. For Jonas Harrow, those screams were sweeter than music. By the autumn of 1986, fear gripped Newport like a sickness. Parents nailed shut their windows, barred their doors, and slept with rifles by the bed. Still, Jonas Harrow slipped past locks and prayers alike. The children continued to vanish, and the boxes kept appearing. The breaking point came with the Hammond family. Clara Hammond was only 7, a small, bright-eyed girl with a laugh that carried through the hollows. Her father was a logger, her mother a school teacher. They loved her fiercely, guarded her as best they could. But love and vigilance meant nothing to Jonas. One October night, Clara was stolen from her bed. Her father woke to a draft from an open window. Her mother found the box first, resting neatly on the porch steps, as though it had been placed there with care. Inside, nestled in salt, lay Clara's tiny tongue. Number 12 was carved into the lid. The Hammond porch became a stage for hysteria. Clara's mother wailed until her voice broke. Her father smashed the box against the ground, only to fall to his knees sobbing as he tried to gather the fragments. Neighbors heard the cries and came running. Word spread fast. Within hours, the entire town seethed with grief and rage. The sheriff, Carlton Pike, had grown weary, his eyes heavy with defeat. He had begged for state assistance, but none had come. That night, when the town gathered in front of the church, their torches lit and their rifles loaded, Pike tried to calm them. His words fell flat. The people of Newport no longer wanted justice. They wanted blood. They marched down Toad Hollow Road like an army of the damned, their voices rising in chants, their fury driving them forward. The funeral home loomed at the end of the lane, black and silent against the October sky. They broke through the front doors with axes and hammers. The smell hit them first, a stench of rot and chemicals, thick and nauseating. They tore through the rooms, scattering caskets, smashing bottles of embalming fluid, until one man struck a wall in the cellar that sounded hollow. Behind it, they found Jonas's secret. The sight stole the breath from every throat. Iron cages lined the damp chamber, the stone floor slick with old blood. Small bones lay scattered in corners, gnawed and brittle. Chains swung gently, as if the children's struggles still lingered in the air. And against the far wall, shelves stacked high with pine boxes weighted, each neatly numbered. The boxes stretched higher than a man could reach. Jonas Harrow was waiting for them. He stood in the center of the room, his pale face gleaming with sweat, his watery blue eyes wide and fever-bright. His lips peeled back in a grin that showed every crooked tooth. "You came," he whispered. His voice was calm, almost tender. "But you're too late. They're all mine now." The mob descended on him. Fists, boots, the butts of rifles. Jonas screamed, but his cries were swallowed by the roar of the crowd. They dragged him outside, through the broken doors, into the night air. Beneath the great oak tree at the end of Toad Hollow Road, they bound him with ropes and chains. Someone doused him in kerosene. Someone else struck a match. The flames took Jonas quickly. His shrieks rose into the night, higher and higher, until they broke into ragged sobs. The people of Newport watched in silence as the fire consumed him, the acrid smoke twisting toward the stars. When at last his body collapsed into ash and bone, the town believed the nightmare was over. They were wrong. Panic returned to Newport. Who was delivering the boxes now? Jonas was dead, his ashes scattered. The sheriff insisted someone must be playing a cruel trick. Yet no prankster could explain the tongues, each one human, each one unmistakably small. Whispers spread like rot. Some claimed Jonas's spirit walked the hollows barefoot, his charred body drifting between the trees, carrying his grisly gifts. Others said he had corrupted someone in town before he burned, passing on his obsession like a disease. Suspicion turned neighbor against neighbor. No one trusted anyone. The Hammond house was the first to be abandoned. Clara's parents fled across the river, unable to bear the thought of another box. Then others followed. Homes were left to rot, fields to wither, the town to empty. Within a decade, Newport was little more than a husk, a scattering of families clinging to the old ways, too stubborn or too haunted to leave. Today, the funeral home still stands at the end of Toad Hollow Road. Its walls are gray with mildew, its windows boarded, its doors chained shut. Teenagers dare each other to sneak inside. Most don't last 5 minutes before running, swearing they heard the clink of chains or the muffled cry of a child deep underground. Some claim they saw Jonas's pale face in the shadows, his grin wide, his lips wet with blood. And every so often, a porch in Newport or in one of the neighboring towns where families fled will bear a gift in the morning dew. A pine box, crudely latched, resting quietly by the door. Inside, a tongue folded in salt. A number carved beneath the lid. No one ever opens the box twice. And if you ever wake to find one on your own doorstep, pray it is only a story, because Jonas Harrow is still counting.